Well, welcome everyone to this next episode of Your Music, Your Story. Today we're talking with Chris Graue.
Hi.
So, how are you?
I'm not dead, so pro or con, we'll decide later.
I guess that's always a good thing. It could be worse.
Sure, or maybe the sweet release of death is really all we're waiting for. Who knows? I mean,
Yeah.
that's really like a moment to moment decision, you know?
Sometimes I think of that when I go to work each day. I debate which would be better.
Exactly. Yeah, it's like I could just drive right off this cliff, or I could punch in. Who knows?
Oh, true. Oh, so true. So true. So, let's start. So, tell me, so you're in the band. Is it Loser? Is that how you say it?
Yeah, yeah, it's Loser. Loser is my little 8-bitty chiptune ska punk solo project that I have been doing for several years now.
Okay. Okay. So, it's just you, nobody else.
Yeah, it's me. It's me. Like, well, okay. Back up. My live show is just me and a projector. Like, I write the songs, but it takes a village.
Yeah.
When I produce my music, like if you've heard anything, and so I guess also technically, since I use tracks when I play live, this is technically my band. I rely on a bunch of the people I've met over the years playing in various bands and being in the music scene. So Ryland Steen, who was the drummer for Real Big Fish and is the current drummer of America, he produces all the songs that you've heard so far. And at the Pot of Gold recording studio with Dave Irish. He plays drums on several of the songs as well. And then Reed from We Are the Union and Jay Graves, mixer extraordinaire, they're like the kind of post production team, like the mixing final touches and whatnot. Alex Daubert masters it. And then most of my songs will feature other musicians. So like the latest one features a band called the Ruffalos, who are a local ska band that are awesome. But I've also had like Aaron and Scott from Real Big Fish on there, along with Ryland. I've had Suburban Legends, like the entire band Suburban Legends did like all of the tracks on that song. So I kind of try to since it's a solo project, I like to bring in all my various friends as band members, but who don't have to then have the availability to come play shows with me.
I guess that makes sense. So, so like if we're looking at when you did a collab, let's say with Suburban Legends on, so yeah, they did
Yeah.
that song. Things are getting worse. Is that correct? Is that the one?
Yes, that is the one.
When you came, did you have an idea? So, okay, here's the song, and they just recorded the parts, or did you just have a guitar part? They kind of did whatever they want to do on the rest of it. How did that work out?
It kind of varies. I mean, I write the song and I'll go in with Ryland on that one, produce it and lay it out, and I'll put down like the rhythm guitar and stuff like that. We brought at that time Josh was drumming for them, who also Josh Hatfield, who aka Cly Maxey from the
I
Maxies.
I just talked to him on Saturday.
Yeah, he's a great guy. I miss him very much. I wish he would text me back. I hope he hears this.
Yeah, Josh.
So he came in. So I guess we probably started there. I mean, there's probably like a rough demo. I think I did the rhythm guitars on that one. We just had Clem come in and do vocals and like a little bit of like wild Brian Clem solos at the end. So yeah, so like a lot of stuff is like written. Like I'll send people. I'll be like, hey, here's like the part, and then if they want to improve the part, like whether it's remote or they come in or whatever, like that's up to them. And a lot of times for like horn solos and stuff, like, and this has been true with like every band I've ever even like remotely worked with or been near the studio. Like usually you go like, hey, here's like the horn part, and they go, okay, let me like horn it up a little though, and they like change it a little bit, like
So
to
you
make it
have
a
a
little
basic
more.
idea of what you want, and then they might add a little bit here and there.
Right, totally, yeah, and like so, like you try to give you like I mean like any other collaboration, you want to be like, here's what I'm going for. Please take space to improve because you're better at this than me. And yeah, and sometimes they're like, oh, I see what you're going for, and they knock it out, and sometimes they're like, okay, your idea sucks a little bit. We'll try this, and it's like, oh yeah, that's obviously better. Thank you.
Let's start over.
So yeah, fortunately, nobody really makes me do that yet. Nobody's been that cruel. But Yeah.
I guess that's good.
Each new day, I am impressed and equal the alarm. The progress made by human beings that always leads to harm. An educated populace with 6-figure degrees would probably use the internet to start World War III. Stuff is getting better, but things are getting worse. So stuff is getting better, but things are getting worse. Solar panels on the roofs of homes I can't afford. Stream unlimited police brutality in moments when you're bored. They innovate efficiency till there's no use for me. The cars can all just drive themselves down to the EDD. Stuff is getting better, but things are getting worse. So stuff is getting better, but things are getting worse. So stuff is getting better, but things are getting worse. So stuff is getting better, but things are getting worse. Till they wash away. A truly free and sovereign press has racist trash to say. Disease is cured all the time if you're a billionaire. It's all things we've done to ourselves and no one even cares. Stuff is getting better, but things are getting worse. So stuff is getting better, but things are getting worse. So stuff is getting better, but things are getting worse. Stuff is getting better, but things are getting.
All right, and then okay, so another question I had, and we'll get back to. I want to talk about all your video ideas and how you came up with those. But also,
Yeah.
so for example, if we talked about, oh, I played the wrong song in there, huh? No, that was right. Okay.
No, that was Things Are Getting Worse.
Oh, Hope, No Hope. That's Real Big Fish. Maybe if I got the song.
That's the Real Big Fish one, yeah.
So one question I would have on that is, how does it work? So Real Big Fish is on a label. If you do a collab with them, like, does that even cause problems? No one even thinks about it. How does that work?
You mean like with their record label?
Yeah. So like, if they can just go do collabs with you and nobody cares, I guess.
Well, yeah, I mean, so first of all, Real Big Fish is on Rock Ridge, which is like they don't have like an exclusive signed deal with Rock Ridge that says they can only do Rock Ridge stuff for here and forevermore. There are certainly artists where that would be a problem. Like I imagine if by some grace Ariana Grande said that she absolutely adored Loser and wanted to collab, I'm sure there would be like several executives that I would have to talk to first before that could happen.
A lot of papers to sign.
Yeah, in this imaginary world, like the big pop, but also, I mean, somebody that size, if she wants to do it, it's gonna happen. It's just, a matter of getting the paperwork right. So, I mean, let's say somebody smaller. Let's I can't even think of a good example, but somebody who just got signed by a major, big time deal. But yeah, there might be some hoops to go through because they've got like exclusives. But generally, you're allowed to do whatever you want, especially if you're not under any sort of exclusivity thing. So yeah, I mean, if they want to do it, I mean, anybody who's I don't know what the right word is, like malleable enough, easily fooled enough to come like work on something with me. Like, I don't want to insult anybody that's done it. It's just like, they've lowered themselves, to down to walk amongst mortals, which I appreciate. But yeah, like they're perfectly willing to make that egregious error in judgment. I don't think there's anything that can legally stop them.
That's awesome. That's what I like to hear.
Yeah.
So we'll insert No Hope in here.
I'm a mess, all washed out, mostly regrets, laced with doubt, all bruised up. I'm knocked down, lying defeat, where truth is found. No hope, no peace, no dignity, no looking up, no one, no place, no victory, no better off this year. I think I'm stuck right here. Unopposed, overwhelmed, I'm giving up before the bell. Destitute, intractable, I'm living proof this world is hell. No hope, no peace, no dignity, no looking up, no one, no place, no victory, no better off this year. I think I'm stuck. Don't count it down, just count me out. I lost the game I didn't know about. Pick up the check, I'm checking out. Who you gonna torment now? Falling apart, I'm falling apart at last. No more trying when you're falling apart. I'm falling apart at last. No more trying when you're falling apart. Falling apart, I'm falling apart at last. No dignity, no more trying when you're falling apart. Falling apart, I'm falling apart at last. No more trying when you're falling apart. Falling apart, I'm falling apart at last. No more trying when you're falling apart. Falling apart, I'm falling apart at last. No more trying when you're falling apart. Falling apart, I'm falling apart at last. No more trying when you're falling apart.
One question I had on that one is, so I liked how you had, okay, your part. I don't remember what the words are, but you had your part, and then you had the middle part,
Sure.
and then you had Aaron sing that part,
Yes.
and then then you layered all three. So it was kind of like a row your boat kind of thing, right?
Yeah, I'm a big fan of, like, you'll hear it in most of my music. When I'm writing, I'm usually writing parts that stack.
Okay.
Even if I don't ever really stack them too much, I usually write parts that do, just because it's what makes sense to me. It's like the even though the melodies are different and the chords are different, they're usually inversions that can lay on each other, which gives you options later for making something that you've heard before sound a little different, like switching to the chorus chords even though you're singing a verse part, et cetera, et cetera. So yeah, like that song in particular, like because I had Aaron and Scott singing on that one, I wanted it to go that way. But yeah, if you listen to a lot of my songs, you'll hear, like, if you just drop the needle on like the last 30 seconds of the song, it's kind of like, whoa, like you can't really hear anything because there's too many things going on. And that's because I build to it. It starts small and I add pieces and pieces at a time, and then by the end I'm usually throwing all of the parts together.
Okay. So another question I have with you when you're talking about, so you're talking about doing different inversions. So I would assume either you've had some sort of musical training or you've just picked up how to do different inversions, because a lot of people don't even know what that word means.
Yeah, well, so it's just, there are, like, one thing that you should think about as a songwriter, one thing that I advocate, and this isn't like the Chris Graue method, this is definitely a thing I've picked up from like a lot of other people over the years, and it's probably a pretty common thing. Like, I think one big mistake that songwriters make, especially in something like punk rock, is they write with a guitar in their hand or sitting at the piano. I think that that's the dumbest thing that you can do, because the song is is human. The whole basis of your song, what makes it any good, is going to be what you, the human, has to say. And when you hold a guitar, like you get an inspiration, you get that idea for that one line or that one little riff, and you sit down to figure it out, and you go, okay, what comes next? Well, you're looking at a piece of wood, and it's going to write the next part for you. Very much so, you're going to be bound by your own limitations, unless you're some like absolute virtuoso at the instrument, unencumbered by any of the difficulty of playing it. But like, even people who are pretty good are going to by default go, oh my gosh, that part, yeah, that's so cool, that's what I love, what comes next? Well, usually after that chord, I play this chord, and all of a sudden you're just doing something that you've done before.
Oh yeah,
and you're letting it lead you.
I've done that a ton.
Yeah,
1, 5, 1, 4, and 5.
1 4 1 4 5 is an easy thing, but you know what? Almost everything that works in 1 4 5 also works as 1 2 minor 3 minor 4. Almost everything that works as 1 4 5 can work as, you can go to the 6 instead. When you write a song, it should really be just you and maybe like phone's camera mode or note recorder to like remember how it goes. I'm assuming you're not going to sit down and write sheet music perfectly off the bat, but just hum it into your phone until you got the whole idea down. Pen and paper, little recorder, and then you should start like shopping for chords the way that you would shop for clothing on a rack. Be like, oh, that's a cool chord. Hold it up, see how it works. Rubs against that note a little bit, but it gets me in there. So actually, maybe it's worth changing that note, going up half a step on that note just to get that progression to work, because that's cool. And then and then this is cool, and then the melody's got to do that, so let's go to this chord, but let's also try the 2, let's try the 3, let's try the 4, let's try the 5. Like just try them all, and then like remove a note or add a note to it until it fits. It's like, gosh, I like going there, but that doesn't actually work. So I mean, that's where you start to get your like 7 add 9 suspended over 13 or like whatever crazy things, but it doesn't, you don't have to know that's what you're doing to do it. Just start pulling your fingers off or moving them around, or think about what notes are in the scale that you're working with, and try to jam that chord that you like with what you need.
Oh yeah, that's pretty good. I do remember when I learned major and minor 7th. I just thought, oh, those are heavenly chords. I didn't even know those existed. They sound so nice.
Yeah,
so nice.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing too, is that you'll hear over and over again on the songs that I have out. I love to do the major minor turnaround on the same chord.
Oh yeah,
like
that adds a little bit of mysterious pull to it, kind of a thing.
Totally, yeah, and you're not even going anywhere, and it sounds like you're going somewhere.
Way to pull the wool over everyone's eyes. Guess what? I never even left A.
Yeah, exactly. It's a wonderful trick.
Ah, it's totally awesome. That's kind of fun. It's fun to talk music theory jargon. Like I know sometimes when I used to play with Dave in the retcons, he'd be like, "Yeah, that's fret number 1." I was like, "Oh, that's an F." Fret number 1.
Yeah. Oh no, Dave is like wonderfly anti-theory. I've played with him for a while, and you know what? And he's still. That's the thing, is you don't have to know. It's helpful to know these things, to communicate things like quickly or whatever, but you don't have to know. You know how to make a power chord. Great. What if you slide your pinky up an extra fret so that it's a little, or you slide your ring finger down one? It would be much easier if you knew how to explain that chord to somebody and they knew what you're saying when you did it, but you don't have to know anything to do that.
Yeah. I remember what that was.
Just know that you could try it.
One of those videos of watching of Dave Grohl. We talked about this when I talked with my sister, and he's got that video. He's like, he plays a chord, whatever it is. Do you know what chord that is? Because I don't. I just like it. Hey, he's made a lot of money, and there's nothing wrong with that. And that's the same thing like with Dave. I mean, he's got some clever riffs. He's not the greatest bass player, but he gets a good job. He writes some good music and guitar and singing. So yeah, you don't have to.
Well, and I love the way he plays bass too, because he's not playing like Motown. Like he's not giving us like Jackson 5 moves. Have you ever played his bass?
Oh yeah, and it's weird.
It is impossible. His action is so high, and he just hits that thing so hard. I mean, plays it like a monster, and it's incredible. But that's why he sounds the way he does, which is awesome, especially in a punk band. Like I play like a lot more delicately, and that's why I don't crush like Dave does on bass for that stuff.
Good old Dave. Good old Dave.
Oh yeah.
So, so let's talk about that the one song you did with the Ruffalos, the Sound the Alarm.
Yeah.
Selfish thoughts wrapped in self-doubt. I'm breaking down. Figments of futures foregone are causing schisms of my mental image, fragmented, and now I've lost them. Sound the alarm. It's falling apart. Fix me, go ahead, break me. What's left to lose? Golden, my serotonin. I come up empty, foggy time to tell my people I'm about to sound the alarm. It's falling apart. Sound the alarm. It's falling apart. Must be wrong, but I can't tell. Nothing, fighting, nothing going down. Panic, attacking, I won't get out. But if you go, could you pull the alarm? The alarm. Sound the Sound the alarm. It's falling apart. Sound the alarm. Sound the alarm. Sound the alarm. Sound the
So how did you? Okay, well let's talk about the video too, because now, well, never mind. Let's back up. So we'll just start with the song. So where did the
Okay.
idea for the song come up? Just the general basis for it.
You know, I mean, where does any song come from? It's just, you know, you're having like crisis or a panic attack, and you're somewhere out of the ether comes the summation of your problems or desires, slightly melodic form, and you go, oh, better chase that down. But yeah, I don't know. I don't really like have like a story behind the music as much as just, you know, it's on the face of it, I think, for what it is. I say what I meant to say.
So when you made that video,
Yeah.
where was that at? Where was that little jungle gym?
That is a story. So I recently moved to Long Beach. Like, there's all kinds of fun little things out here. So like one video I did, I live near on Broadway through Alamitos Beach. It's like the gay bar district, and so all the crosswalks are painted like rainbow, right?
Okay.
And at that time, I was releasing a cover of Rainbow Road. And I was like, oh my gosh,
How convenient.
this is Rainbow Road. And I happened to have like a little Yoshi Mario Kart, like RC car that I won at an E3 like 15 years ago or something. So I busted it out and I made a little video of him driving on the crosswalk, weaving in and out of traffic.
Nothing big.
Yeah, like the city of Long Beach really came through for me again. As I was starting to like finish production on that song, I walked down to the beach and saw this giant inflatable obstacle course going into the ocean. They were like inflating out there. And I was like, what is that? And I looked it up. It was a thing that they did. I don't know if they do it every year. I hope it comes back. It was a lot of fun. But they got this, like, it's called a Whibbit. It's this giant inflatable obstacle course that they just anchored down in the ocean, and it was up for like, I want to say like June or July, maybe July through September. And it was just free and open. You could go out there and do it. The like lifeguards would show up at like 10 a.m. I like went, when I saw it, I immediately thought, so I've been playing this game Fall Guys way too much. And so when I saw it, I was like, that's a Fall Guys course. I'm doing a Fall Guys video and I'm doing it on that thing. This rules. I started going out just like, I was like figuring out how it worked, and the lifeguards would come out around like 10 or whatever, like 11, something like that. They kind of show up and they'd make everybody stand in line. You only had 15 minutes to be on it, and then you had to come in, and it was really for children. So there was tons of children around, and then just me just standing there. But what I figured out is if you went out early enough, the lifeguards weren't there, and it wasn't like they were coming by to like clear people off of it. So I just started going down early in the morning and running around on it and making sure that nobody bothered me. And that was the case. And I kind of like trained on it and got good at all the various obstacles and figured out what would be funny. And then my buddy Vince from Suburban Legends, he came down. We put my phone in a little waterproof bag thing and came down and shot it from like 7 a.m. until the lifeguards came and told us to get off.
Was it cold?
It wasn't too bad. I mean, because it was in the summer. Like, I know I've released it in the dead of winter, and also I was wearing a wetsuit under that suit. Otherwise, so if you haven't seen the video, I'm trying to dress like a fall guy from the game Fall Guys, and I'm doing so by wearing a pink morph suit with my face out, like in a hole. And those morph suits are pretty, like, look, you're going to see a lot of dick if that gets wet. So to avoid that, I wore a wetsuit under it so that it would be kind of...
Wouldn't see everything.
Yeah.
You would be showing the world all the goodies.
Yeah, like... Like I've done, there've been some questionable clips in a few of my videos with some of my costume choices, but it's always like quick. And I was like, you know what, it's just gonna be hard to watch for like 3 minutes if it's just me flopping around.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So were you sore after when you would get off of it? Were you tired and sore like the first couple times?
It's pretty exhausting. Yeah. The first couple times, definitely. But like, fortunately I had kind of like I said, I kind of trained up for it. So I was relatively in shape to do it. But yeah, it's exhausting. Like the first time I went out, I was like, you only get to be on sync for 15 minutes. And then like 7 minutes in, I was like, I'm ready to go in. It's kind of like, have you ever been to one of those like trampoline party places where the floor is just filled with trampolines?
Oh yeah.
Those also, you pay for like a 15 or a 30-minute block or whatever, and you're like, well, I want to hang out here all day. In 10 minutes you're like, I'm so winded, I gotta stop.
I need to sit down.
Yeah, it's exhausting.
That's cool. So your camera crew was just you and who was that? Vince from Suburban Legends. So that was the crew?
Vince. Yeah, he usually, I work with him on a lot of videos. So my day job is making music videos for other bands. No Effects, I do a bunch of stuff for them. Bite Me Bambi, I do a bunch of stuff for them. I've done like Frank Turner. I did a Real Big Fish music video once. Littlest Man Band. I do kind of all that stuff. And whenever there's like need for a second set of hands or some help editing, whatever like I need help on, I go to Vince, because he's at least as good at or if not better than me at like everything that I do. He's usually the next person I bring in. So then when I do my own projects, he's like I've got to be on camera, so he's got to be behind it.
Okay, so I'm trying to find in my history of YouTube. So I listened to some of your songs, and one come up, it was Chris's mix. And I do remember there was a NoFX one on there. There was a Suburban Legends. So those would have been like videos that you worked on?
Yeah, I've directed, I think, something like almost 100 music videos for various ska and punk bands.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. Okay, was it so Bite Me Bambi, like that?
Yeah, that's one of them.
I think that was one of them?
Yeah.
Okay. And then one of the ones that popped up were Suburban Legends, Kiss the Girl.
Yeah.
And You've Got a Friend. in me.
Yeah, I made those. Those are a long time ago. But yeah.
So that one, I'm not gonna lie, that Friends and Me one cracked me up.
Yeah. So that is like the only music video that I've ever made that was based on a dream. I had a dream that we were making, like, not that music video existed. I didn't like dream like that it was real. I dreamed that we were making that music video, and I woke up and texted Vince the entire dream, and he said, "Well, let's make it then."
It didn't. He's like, this could go real awkward, real fast.
Yeah, it was really fun. Like, so for people that haven't seen it, what happens in the music video is like they're like playing a game, and Vince and Brian from Suburban Legends, they high five each other, and like a little electric zap goes into Brian's tummy, and he becomes pregnant. And so Vince and Brian have to like go through all of the like getting ready to like have a baby stuff, and then the baby comes out, and it's the trombone player from the band. I don't know. That's just what happened in the dream. So for a while, it was fun because like at their shows, it was like they've got a song called like High Fives. Everybody would be like usually like high fives each other, but then they'd be like, "Oh no, like, we can't high five," or like they put their jacket over their hand, as like protection,
so they don't get pregnant.
Yeah, like I don't think people do that anymore, but it was a thing for a while. It was fun.
That's awesome. All right, so we'll just move right on into your growing up video, because that's what it just made me think of.
Why can't I grow up? Stop feeling like I'm stuck. Guessing now that I was wrong. I find a place where I belong and come by naturally. No one cares, I've tried to be more than cause for sympathy. So why should I grow up? Why can't I grow up? Guess it's just my luck. Feeling like a kid inside doesn't chance to coincide with bones as old as mine. It still feels like mortal sin to say that I'll be giving in. So why should I grow up? Why can't I grow up? Why can't I grow up? Say it's not my fault that I just can't. We just won't. Why can't I grow up? Why can't I grow up? Say it's not my fault that I just can't. We just won't. Why can't I grow up?
If I were to be a betting man, I would bet that you like video games.
I sure do.
Because that one made me chuckle with your videos of getting pregnant with a Nintendo.
Yeah, that is the second video I have used a pregnancy test for as a prop.
That's awesome.
That video, I was trying to think of what to do. So that was the first music video for Loser. I was trying to think like, all right, like what am I going to do? Like what would be a good music video idea? And I was like, I really want to like, I was coming out of like, I'd always played in other people's bands, and people were always like, we can't do that. That's crazy, or that's stupid, or whatever, and I was just like, I want to do like the most insane like nobody can stop me now sort of thing. What am I going to do? And I was like, what if I just like fucked a Nintendo? That was like the first thought. I was just like, that would be like the worst. I was like, okay, well, that's not a real idea. That's terrible. But I was like kind of thinking through the concept of it. I was like, okay, well, if you did that, how would you do it? I was like, well, I guess you like the original Nintendo Entertainment System. I was like, I guess you just like lift the flap. Like that's the only place that'd be big enough to put anything. It's not going to fit in the controller port pins area, so I was like, I guess you do it there. And then I was like, well, then, like, so under that logic, is that where the baby would come out? And then I was like, well, what's like a human Nintendo hybrid baby? And I was like, a Game Boy. Oh no. And it all kind of started to come together. And I was like, oh, this is the weirdest thing I've ever thought of. And that's pretty much been like my driving philosophy for this band is like the worse of an idea it seems, the more I have to do it.
Just because.
Yeah. So I was like, well, guess we better do it. And yeah, so I put that one together, and I love that song and that video a lot because I really think it serves as like a mission statement for the band. I really like, I worked with Chris Luca, the trumpet player from Suburban Legends, and he helped me put together, because I wanted to make the drum kit out of those Nintendo sounds. And like in that song, it's like a fireball and a coin and like a shell, like sounds. Like he helped me like build a drum kit out of that and make a beat that like functioned as a beat, even though there was no real drum in it.
So you got like, for example, like you're saying, so you got one of the sound effects from a Super Mario Brothers or whatever.
Right.
You built basically a drum set out of those sounds.
Exactly.
With your drum set. Oh, that's complicated.
Yeah, and then I was able to kind of like that song, I think out of all the ones that I've released so far, sounds the most unique. I think a lot of my other songs sound a little more like, oh, okay, yeah, it's like a ska punk thing. But like that one, you put that on, you're like, what is happening here? Which was kind of the goal. So I'm a big fan of that song. And then, yeah, that video, again, was just, like, probably the worst idea I've ever had.
Whatever, that was funny. I'm not going to lie, I chuckled. And then when you were cheating on it with the Super Nintendo.
Yeah, I just tried to think through, like, all the kind of, like, relationship tropes.
It was funny. I'm not going to lie. I chuckled at those ones quite.
Well, appreciated.
They made me laugh. And it was an enjoyable. So that's on some of your other songs too, when you had those old video game sounds, do you find those files online, or do you create your own from the game? How do you get some of those? For the most part, like, look, I'm not going to say that I sample anything from a video game that is proprietarily whatever, because I don't ever do that. And most of the time, I really don't. I have... there are a few different tools. I've got like a pocket operator, like a video game pocket operator that has a lot of sounds that I can generate. And there's a tool online that is also so there's a couple of us like video gamey ska bands, and we call our genre chiptone. That is also conveniently the name of an excellent tool that exists online called chiptone, that is essentially similar to the sound card on an NES, and you can put in your own parameters and tweak a sound until it sounds like what you want. So it's not a sample of like a coin from the Mario game, but it sounds very similar because it's generated through the same instrument. So now is that, because I'd heard for a while too, like people, what is it, 64-bit stuff? Is that kind of the same? Because to me, it all sounds like old video game music.
Yeah, it's generally called 8-bit.
Or 8-bit, yeah, sorry, 8-bit.
Yeah. So the way that like the old systems worked, like nowadays when you write music for something, the computers are all powerful enough, you just make like an MP3 or a WAV file or whatever, so you could play real songs, you could record an actual human saying stuff, you can record a real instrument, and you can have the sound file playback and trigger and whatever. But in the original NES, Super Nintendo, even the N64 era, they couldn't, there wasn't enough room on like the disk to save those files. Like if you think about like having an old floppy disk and trying to put like a current MP3 on it.
Oh yeah, that wouldn't work.
Right. Yeah. So, I mean, I do sell one as merch, but the song is compressed as shit, and you only get one. And it's a short one. But anyway, so the way that they did it was with MIDI, which is basically sheet music. So you would like write digital sheet music that had parameters on it. So it was sort of like, so every time you play Mario, the original Mario Brothers on the Nintendo, that song is not a recording of that song. It's being performed live by the box that you're playing it on,
because it's reading those select notes. Excuse me.
It's reading back that sheet music that says use this voice, this like sound type modulated this way for this long, play this note, and then this note this way, this long, etc. It has a bunch of instructions about what each note are, which are just a simple text file, which is very small, and then the sound card actually generates those tones. So by coming up with a similar electronic path to the way that sound card worked, you can send the same instructions through and get a very similar thing.
I mean, they sound good. I will give you that. They do sound good.
Yeah, I mean, I do sometimes use like an actual Game Boy as well. There's a setup you can do where using the Game Boy link cable, you can plug it into, like, you put a game in the cartridge slot that is basically like allows you access to the audio card, and you put it out through the link cable and adapt it into MIDI, and you can actually control. I can play a keyboard through my Game Boy and get the actual Game Boy's sounds. So that is actually the Game Boy sound card on several songs.
Okay, so if you have your keyboard, it's sending it to the Game Boy and then out through the Game Boy, and that's what you're recording? Is that how that works?
Out through the audio jack on the Game Boy. Yeah, just like if you were playing Tetris.
Wow, how'd you come up with that? That's pretty clever.
I mean, it's a thing that people have been doing for, gosh, like better part of 20 years now. The first band that I heard that did it was called 8-Bit Weapon, and they're still kind of out there. They still do stuff. But yeah, some of these people like early on figured out that they could write software for the NES, for the Game Boy, for, the Super Nintendo, etc., that would give them root level access to that sound card, basically, so that they could speak directly to it. And if you can pass MIDI keyboard data to it, well, then it doesn't know the difference between that being a file that's loaded from the card and the thing that you're playing, as long as it gets MIDI.
It just knows what's coming in, that if it can read it, that's what it reads.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's what it does. Yeah. So, I mean, I just had to, there's like a little chip that somebody made that basically adapts. It's like literally just a little bare circuit board with like MIDI ports and a USB port and a link cable port on it, and that's how you interface it.
Well, that's pretty clever. I didn't even know you could do stuff like that.
Yeah, it's not the easiest, but it's pretty cool.
Oh, technology and its cleverness.
Mm-hmm.
Bringing us back those old 80s sounds.
Oh yeah.
So, one question. So, when you on the video you did for set it all on fire.
Yeah.
Okay, I mean that's not a regular Mario's brother. Like, where on earth? I'm like, where does that kind of stuff come from?
So that is actually a game that is called Super Mario Maker 2. There was also a 1, obviously, for the Wii U, but that is a game for the Nintendo Switch where you can make your own Mario level. Right. And there's all kinds of different genres of the games. Like some people do like they just make their own level and it feels like a Mario level. Most of them are really bad, because your average person is not a good game designer. But then some of them are designed to be like, when you would play Mario back in the day, like some levels you could kind of like speed run, like you just go really fast and jump at all the right times and like, boom, you just like fly through the level.
Yeah.
So some people will like specifically build levels to be speed run. Some people will build levels where like, all of the different things you hit kind of makes a song. There's all kinds of different, like some of them are like puzzles, like you have to like answer questions or like figure stuff out and do it the right way to unlock the doors to get through or get the key and whatever. But it basically has like all of the various items, bad guys, weapons, background, floor blocks, etc. All of the tools to make a Mario game, and you go for it. Again, one of those bad ideas that I could never do for somebody else. else is I was like, what if instead of making a music video, I made a level of a video game that syncs up to the music? So there's a genre of game called Auto Mario. And whenever I see one, I cannot stop watching it. It's basically where you don't touch the controls. Like if you watch that video, what happens is like a little trampoline like drops down and hits Mario in the beginning and makes him start moving. And then he's just like on a moving block and bouncing off of shells and bouncing off of things and like narrowly avoiding death by a pixel here and there over and over and over and over again. And it all looks very stressful, but somehow he comes out of it unscathed and makes it to the end of the level. And you never touch anything.
Huh.
And that's called Auto Mario, right? Because it like plays itself. They are incredibly time consuming to build. Because everything has to work by exactly the right pixel. Like even if you put the trampoline in the right place, if it loads at the wrong time, it's not going to be there. It's going to be like bouncing at the wrong speed or whatever. So you have to like you basically like place an item and start your level over and see if it works. And so you have to do that over and over and over and over again. It took me about a month of working on that as like a full-time job basically to finish that level.
Holy cow. That is crazy. So that
took forever.
And then you also, like you said, you synced it up to the music. So
Right.
that probably had to throw a whole new pickle in the thing rather than, I mean, how that sounds very difficult.
Yeah, basically I was just like I would hit play on the song as I was doing it. So I'd be like, bah, 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 bah. Okay. Like, bah, 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 bah. Bah, 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 bah. Like every time I added a new thing and like just see where I was in the song and like try to add all the little things that synced up. It took forever. And I maxed out. I put too many things in the game. I like ran out. I didn't know there was a limit. So I had to like go back and remake it and like use less stuff. It was it was an adventure building that thing. But it's really cool. And what's cool about it is that, so you can watch it on YouTube and see how it syncs up to the music properly, or you can actually just go on that game and enter the level code and you can just watch it happen. It won't play the music on Mario Maker, obviously, because it doesn't have my song. It's a real level. It actually exists. There's no camera tricks here. That's a real Mario Maker level.
And that game codes, that's that BXS NV4 thing at the bottom, the course ID?
Yes, that's the course ID, yeah.
Holy cow, that's impressive. Because my question was like, man, you are an amazing Mario player. But
no, yeah, you don't play it, you don't touch anything.
You just let it go on its own, huh?
You just let it go. Yeah, it's like I said, I made it because like when I see one, I have to watch it. Like I just let it watch all the way through because I want to. There's just something it's like a pimple popping video, or like one of those things. You're just like, all right, here we go. I got to see it. I gotta watch all the way till the end.
I'm in it to the end.
Yeah. So I find them captivating. So I just had to make my own.
So is this something? I mean, you said it take you a long time and it was a lot of work. Is that something that you would do again? Or is this, okay, no, I'm done with that?
Absolutely not. I bought that game to make that, and I have not played it since. It was like, it's a great game. Actually, I think I'm ready to cause it's fun because you go on it. I don't know that I'll build another level, or at least like not an intense one like that, but it's really fun because you get to play like other people's levels, and some of them are really clever.
So it's like a shareware. No, I don't want to say shareware, but everyone puts them on, so you have access to everybody.
It's user generated. Yeah, it's user generated, and so like when you go on, you can either play like just like, hey, here's a random one that somebody just made, and maybe it sucks, maybe it's good, or you can play like top rated ones of the last day or the last week or whatever. And there's always like some new, some incredible thing that obviously took somebody days and days and days of their life to make. But yeah, really creative, really fun.
And now, what do you play this on? The Switch? You play it on
the Switch?
Man, that sounds difficult. That's impressive. That's a fun video to watch too.
Thank you.
Just like you said, I had to watch it, and you have to watch the whole thing because you're like, is he gonna die? Oh, he's gonna die.
I do in the YouTube video. I do add. There's like little tiny cameos of like me and the guys from We Are the Union that like guested on that song because I wanted to layer that in a little bit on the video. But it is, all the game stuff that you see is actually for real.
That is impressive.
Thank you.
So, when you're coming up with an idea, so whether it's your own video or someone comes to you, do you just, I mean, what's that process like? Because these are some pretty clever videos. You just kind of, like you said, I guess a dream, or how does that process work?
No, I mean, yeah, it's usually like an exercise in logic, like, asking like, okay, like, who's your band? What are you into? Who's your audience? What are you trying to say? What's this song about? How can we say something that matches the energy of this song with who you're trying to talk to, and in a fun and visual way that's not the exact text of the song, maybe even like pretty different from the song, but fits the vibe. Like what's something that we can do that would be visually interesting that works? And, like a lot of times it depends on like a lot of times it's just a matter of like, yeah, we want to do a song, but nobody from the band wants to be in it, or we have this cool space that we can use and we want to do something with that. And so you just kind of like, it's like a puzzle. You just kind of start putting the pieces together until you see what you got.
So just out of curiosity, you don't have to throw anyone under the bus, but what's the most obscure thing that someone has come up with apart from, or weird request per se?
I've got to have all the weirdest requests for the video, I really think. There's one video coming up. I won't say much about it, but it'll be out in a few weeks, that has an Abraham Lincoln cameo that I play, which was a very left field request for the video.
Okay.
Yeah, that's got to be up there.
So where, like, in this video, where would you just go to a costume shop and just hope they have a Abe Lincoln, or do you create your own in those scenarios?
Yeah, we just rented an Abraham Lincoln costume.
So how much do you, and stuff like that, how much do you make of your own, or you can usually find something to rent or buy or something like that?
It depends on the band and the video. Like a lot of my own stuff, like if you watch the Things Are Getting Worse video where I'm getting sucked into all the different video game consoles, that's just all stuff I happen to own. Like that video cost me $0. It was just stuff around my house. Yeah, if the band has a budget, you dream big and you shop for like locations. I want to rent out, an opera hall, and we'll film in there. And then you do it, because if you pay people enough money, they let you do things. And like, yeah, same goes like sometimes you got to rig a prop, and sometimes there's a cheap way or an expensive way to do it. But like, depending on the budget that the band has, either they want to figure it out themselves and DIY it, or they want to hire in the best and get somebody who knows what they're doing. So it really just varies, like band to band, budget to budget. And then like a lot of times I tell bands all the time, I'm like, okay, like if you think really hard, what's something that you have access to, somebody that or a skill that somebody has in the band that otherwise would cost anybody else money? Like if I made it up as an idea, I pull it out of a hat, it would be very expensive for us to do it, but just happens to be something you have. And all the time people will come up with something. They'll be like, oh, my uncle owns a furniture store. Great. Let's go film at a furniture store. Let's figure something out. Or like, my mom has a guest house that is going to get knocked down. We can do anything we want to it. Okay, great. Like, let's go fuck up a house. There's a million different things.
I was gonna say, so usually when you present that kind of a question, usually people have something maybe they haven't thought of before, but comes up with something usually.
It usually takes them a while, because everybody thinks that their own life is boring, because they do this stuff every day and it's mundane. But if you think about it, that job that you hate is in like an office building. Well, an office building would be prohibitively expensive for me to rent. I know, every time I've tried to rent like an office set, like it's really expensive. And if your job relatively likes you, maybe they'll let you film in there like on a night or a weekend, and we could get a shot of that. Oh, well, that rules. Or like you're a mechanic and you have access to like all of these tools. Or like you have like a stack, like given like a couple weeks notice, you can have a bunch of tires. Okay, That's rad. Like, let's figure something out with tires. Like, it usually takes a while. People don't think of it off the top of their head. Nobody thinks that they're interesting or they really got something in the bag for you. You really got to like ask a bunch of questions. Like, what do you do for work? Who's your friend? Like, what are you like? And yeah, people like take a little time and think about it. And then eventually everybody has eventually come up with something. I take it back. One band didn't come up with anything, but I came up with something for them. But yeah, so yeah, it's always doable.
And then it just worked out, huh?
Yeah.
So do you have, when you go into your filming, do you come with the cameras and you bring all that? Or is it you just kind of work on the production, or not the production, what the video is going to be about, and then you rent the cameras, or how does that work?
Again, it scales to different operations. Like some videos I shoot myself on my cell phone, and some videos I bring out extra cinematographers and rent extra lighting, and we shoot on Blackmagic 4Ks and the whole deal. But like it really just scales to
all the clever stuff.
Yeah, but like, and that the thing is though, it's not even like, oh, this is a big budget good video or this is a cheap video. Like there's oftentimes I usually make the decision based on what's creatively going to work best. If we're shooting in a gigantic warehouse that's not well lit and I'm not like planning to do any like kind of crazy camera moves, well, the Blackmagic is going to look better in there because I'm going to be able to color correct it more later. I'm going to need to rent a lot of lights. So that's going to be reality if this is the idea that we're going to do. Versus even if it's big budget, it's like, you know what, I want to do a super stable one shot thing. Well, I have a rig for my cell phone that does that better than the rig for the 4K, and that'll be easier. So let's do that. And I even have I have like a 10-year-old DSLR that I'll use sometimes because I like the way it does color better. I'm sure a better cinematographer than me could probably use the new stuff and get that color later. But I'm just like, I just like the way it does color. I'm just going to shoot on it and it'll be done.
So you have lots of options and things that you like to get what it is that you're getting or how you want the video to look and all that.
Yeah. I mean, it's like music. There's no such thing as a bad instrument. There's just a right or a wrong for what you're going for.
Yeah, true. That's some good wisdom right there. Oh, well, this has been fun, Chris. Thank you. And maybe we'll have to do this again when you can tell all about your, cause now I'm curious just about all your shooting and how you do it and a lot of that stuff is just curious. I'm just curious sounds like there's a lot that goes into it.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's like any other job. It's just a matter of like thinking of the big thing that you want to accomplish and then breaking it down into, well, I got to call that person. I've got to decide how that's going to go. I got to figure out how that trick is going to work and how I'm going to do any of this. Okay, let's make the phone calls. Let's start doing origami or whatever.
So another question I've seen videos, and also because I've got a drone, so I've watched a few of the other ones, that some cities are real particular about people filming in their city.
They sure are. Yeah.
Does that matter?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it comes up, but also like just do it and get out of there. Like if you like the drone stuff is governed by the FAA, so that can be difficult. But like honestly, any shot that you need a drone for somewhere that you're not supposed to fly it, you can probably find stock footage it's really going to be a problem. Like if you're trying to get like an overhead of like LAX, yeah, okay, you're not going to be able to fly your drone there. That's going to be a problem. But there's somebody's shot it and you can license that clip. That's fine. But like you're not going to have like, if you're going to be low enough that you can see your actor and it actually matters that it's shot with what you're doing, you're not flying high enough to run into any of those problems. You should be able to get 10 feet off the ground. That's going to be fine. And if you move quick, forget permits, forget any of that stuff, just go do it. Be smart, avoid cops. Yeah, I don't know. I've never once pulled a permit. I've been doing this as a profession for the better part of 2 decades, and I've never pulled a permit.
All right, that's nice. I like to hear that. Down with the man.
Yeah.
All righty. Well, thank you, Chris. Thank you for joining and talking about your stuff. And again, I mean, I'll say it again. I was very impressed with your Super Mario Brothers thing, and I totally thought that you were playing. But even now, learning that you wrote that or made it and created it to the rhythm of the song. That's even more impressive.
It's somehow the truth is even more insane. Yeah, oh gosh.
Well, that was very nice. So, all right, Chris. Well, thank you,
All right.
and we'll have to do this again.
Sounds good.
All right, have a good night.
You too.
All right, bye.